Hello everyone, Eva here, and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists and create various art-related videos. Before we go to the interview, I wanted to let you know that my course Storytelling with Color and Light is now available for you at artsideoflife.com/color. I designed the course for beginner and intermediate artists, breaking the big topic of color and light into smaller parts to help you understand the main concept so you can make your artworks appealing and believable. So check it out at artsideoflife.com/color. And now, let's go back to the interview. My guest today is Isadora Zeferino, and Isadora is a freelance illustrator and visual development artist from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. She has worked for several of the major publishing houses in Brazil, partnering up with big companies, and is most known for her positive work on her social media. And now, please welcome Isadora, and let's get to the interview. So, welcome everyone to the next episode of Outside of Life, and I'm super happy to have Isadora here. Hi!
Thank you for having me, Eva. It's so nice to be in such a big podcast. I mean, how do you do it? So many artists. And when I was looking, oh my God, I have to listen to everything. And usually I do listen to podcasts while I'm working. So it was a nice surprise to see that I have so much content for the next months, because now I'm a freelance. So I have to fabricate
Some
content
background
for
thing,
work on. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I'm super happy that you joined. And as you said, so many awesome artists you joined here and sharing all the stories and all the tips and insights. So yeah, like binge watching all the episodes or listening when you're working, that's always fun. And
it's always like so interesting to listen to other artists' opinions and how they usually go on with their careers, because I don't know if that's something that happens because I live in Brazil or because I live in Rio. Maybe that's something that all artists like around the world have to deal with. But the thing is, I think we're usually so secluded and we don't get a chance to talk that much or to listen to other people's experiences. It's a difficult experience, like a creative career. These days, it's easier than it used to be. Like,
internet,
of course, with the internet, yeah. But anyhow, it's still something that usually you listen to a story that, like, how did I get up here? How did I end up here? Why am I doing this? While I have friends who are doctors, like, I don't know, other profession names. Oh my God, that's the time. And, like, doctors, engineers, lawyers, and you're like, no, I'm an illustrator. So usually you have a tale of how you found yourself and how you do your stuff, and we don't often get to share it. So it's so important to have all these different perspectives on something. It's really great what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy because then also when I was growing up, I was also interested in people okay, how did they get there, what they're doing now, and all of that. So let's just jump into your background, and maybe you can share some stories from your childhood and what do you remember drawing maybe, and these kind of things.
Oh, so I think it's not going to be very original, because usually it's like, oh, I loved to draw when I was a kid, and it never stopped, and that's kind of it. But the thing that I remember the most is how my mom, God bless her, like she was. Whenever she tells me stories about my childhood, because I have really bad memory, I don't recall. Like, she always comes and coos at how I did this and that, and I'm like, oh, if you're saying I must have done it because I don't remember. But she was always very worried about me developing my creative sense. And I have 5 other siblings, younger siblings, and I was the first one, so she had most time with me. And she always reminisces about how she used, I was in baby, 6 months old, 7 months old, and she was already having these Einstein cards, trying to get me to talk. She was obsessed with me becoming some kind of genius, and I did talk very early compared to my brothers and my sister. But anyway, I think I had a lot of concentrated attention from my mom, from my grandfather, from my grandmother. And what they said was that I used to draw a lot, but I talked while I drew, which is something that these days I'm thinking maybe meant that I was trying to make a narrative for what I was doing, which is something that I think connects me more with illustration itself. Like when you're drawing, you're trying to tell a story. You're not like just drawing because it's fun or because you want to see it on paper, which are all like super valid reasons for making art. But I think for me, it was a bit about always has been about telling stories and also showing how I felt, because mostly my drawings are, I try to make them, and I don't know, I'm talking and I'm like really thinking hard about this because I didn't before, but I don't draw sad things a lot. Mm-hmm. I usually draw very upbeat, very comfortable with themselves girls. It's usually coming from a place that sometimes even if I don't feel like on this super happy, if I'm not on this super happy mental state, I still draw a lot of like happy things.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I did since I was a child. I was always like drawing happy little girls doing fun things, and I don't know, I think that's been a pretty old thing. I wish I had some drawing from my childhood here, because now my grandma lives with me, so she usually flaunts this to me, like I'm mid work and she's like, "Oh, look at what I found, this drawing of yours," and it's a scribble. It's not possible to understand what I did, and it's so beautiful. It was a cow, and I was like, "How do you know it was a cow?" But anyway.
So what was the thing maybe you remember as a one drawing when you were like, "Oh, I actually like this"?
Oh boy, I don't know, because I had this crazy anime manga part of my life, which a lot of people I know did too. And in that moment, I think I dove deep into a style that was more about what everyone was doing and what I liked, then about how I wanted to portray things, which is something that I was talking to a friend. I don't remember which friend it was, but anyway, I was talking to another friend who's an artist, because probably they've been here. I think it was Piccolo, but I'm not sure. But I think we were talking about how on your teenage years, which are very formative to how you see the world afterwards, how you usually want to draw everything you like, but you like a lot of things, and you don't already have this notion that you can like something and you just like it. It's not part of you yet. It's not gonna stick like for years. Like, I don't know, like I remember when I was like 15 or so, I wanted to have a Harry Potter tattoo like so bad, and I didn't know yet if it was a good choice. Would I feel silly like as an adult with that
what
Harry
if
Potter
you don't like it anymore later?
Yeah, what if? And now at 24, I know for a fact that I wouldn't. Harry Potter is like something that stuck with me, and it will stick probably forever. But I didn't know that back then, and I think that was true for most of my references. I still didn't know who I was, so I was so far from knowing what would define me, what would shape me as an artist. Like, not like I do now, because a lot of things I'm still not sure, of course, but I think at a certain age in which I was liking my drawings more, I liked them because they looked like things my favorite artists drew. Like, do you know, I don't know how to say her name properly, but she did a lot of Harry Potter, Lily and James fan art. It was Viria.
Oh,
she was like a super famous deviant art artist. and like I was obsessed with her work. So I didn't trace but I did. I was a lot like, oh, I have to draw like her,
Yeah.
like Loish, for example, like Fobs to like some DeviantArt famous artists. I was like, oh, this is the path that I want to do what they do. So these are the only paths. These are the only options. I can't make a name for myself because I was Brazilian, because I was a lot of things together, but so I have to draw like them to do what I love. And then I was growing up, I found out that it wasn't true in the slightest. I mean, if I tried to do the same things that they did, I would always be like a copycat. I could never become, and it's not about like being greater or bigger, but it's about setting
It
up
would
your
be
path.
always like kind of the second one. So yeah, that's why it's good to do your own thing.
And the fresh ideas would always come from them, not from me, if I were focusing on the copying part.
Before we continue, let's thank our sponsors. Are you looking for a top quality print shop and online store to sell your art prints? Then you should definitely check out InPrint. InPrint has been helping artists print and sell gallery quality prints of their work all over the world for over a decade. Created by artists for artists. InPrint ensures that you as an artist get your artworks printed in the highest quality and you earn the highest percentage compared to the others in the industry. The online gallery at inprint.com is curated by the members, resulting in a beautiful and unique collection of work. Support your favorite artists, discover new ones, and start selling through your own gallery today. And because you are part of Artside of Life community, you will get a special 10% discount with the promo code ARTSIDE. Don't wait, visit artsideoflife.com/inprint and use promo code ARTSIDE. If you love discovering and trying out new art tools, you should check out Art Snacks. When you subscribe, you will get a box of high-quality art supplies every month. I have already discovered so many amazing new products, limited edition tools and exclusive supplies only available to subscribers. Art Snacks definitely helps me to get more creative and try different art techniques every month. There is also Art Snacks Challenge, where you can share your artworks using only the tools in the monthly box. You also get to join the Art Snacks Mix community, where you can talk with other artists like you, inspire each other and improve together. And because you are part of Artside of Life community, you will get a special 10% discount with the promo code ARTSIDE10. So don't wait, visit artsideoflife.com/artsnacks and use a promo code ARTSIDE10. If you are a digital artist, you will love AstroPad. AstroPad is an app that turns your iPad Pro into professional wireless graphics tablet for your Mac. I use it to work with Photoshop and Illustrator to create highly rendered artworks for my clients directly on my iPad. I was super excited to discover AstroPad because the painting apps available on iPad don't have all the functionality like Photoshop. With AstroPad, I can use all my favorite and custom-made Photoshop brushes, which is super cool. And because you are part of Artside of Life community, you will get an exclusive 10% discount on AstroPad Studio licenses. To get started, go to artsideoflife.com/astropad and enter the promo code ARTSIDE. And now, let's go back to the interview. And so how was it for you then to decide, like what to study, or, if you already had some role models and were like, okay, maybe I want to be like these people, like when I will be like successful animator, illustrator, visual development artist. So how was it for you to decide, like, okay, what am I actually going to do if I like art, and like which direction?
Oh, but that was crazy actually, because in high school mainly, I think it's different from in Brazil. The Brazilian system of school is quite different, but high school is pretty much the same. It's a time, those are 3 years that you're like trying to find out what you're gonna do, and you have a lot of pressure put upon yourself because you're so young and you have to choose something that they say it will last forever.
Yeah.
They
your
don't.
Whole
they
future.
don't. Yeah, your whole future. And to cope, because I was pretty anxious then. But to cope, I used to draw a lot. I used to like read a lot of fan fiction. I used to dwell in the fandom more, many fandoms, but usually the internet was an escape. So drawing was an escape. And back then, I really consider it one of my most important hobbies. Like if I hadn't had that scapegoat, I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna cope? And because of that, I used to treat it very much like a hobby. And I didn't think it was serious because I was just drawing to have fun. I was drawing to forget how bad I was at physics. I was drawing for reasons like to get over heartbreak, for all the teenage angst stuff. And so I decided to go into biomedicine school, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything I do these days. I did stay for like 2 years. I even had an internship in a lab in my former college, and I went there because I thought, oh, I can't be an artist because this is my hobby, so I have to figure out something else that I like. And the thing is, in biology, you have to draw a lot, or at least I did. I had to draw a lot of cells and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I like biology because I can draw, and also it's interesting. I can be like Dexter's Lab. I can be like a super kick-ass girl scientist. And when I went into, and I actually took those super specific classes, I found some friends through the internet that were doing fine arts, like in the building close to mine, same university. And usually we were talking, having lunch together, and they were like, oh, I have this watercolor class like in the afternoon. And I was like, no, I have vegetal cell class. Like I have to learn about water. And they were like, oh, that's, yeah. I was like, oh, I can't skip this class. Like it's only today and go like to check out what's in watercolor class. And I failed all my subjects in biomedicine because I was so busy wanting to go to their fine arts classes. And I was like, I think there's something wrong here. And then I went to design school afterwards, like 2 years after, because you have to study, here in Brazil, you have to study a full year to make the test for a different college, because usually the best ones here, and that's not true anymore, I guess, but the best ones here used to be the free universities, the ones from the state, and there was a lot of competition, so you had to study a lot to get into those. So I did get into design school, and while I was in design school, I felt not exactly ready to pursue the art career, but closer. So I ended up drawing more, and with drawing more and with being on social media more, it started to, I think I say it's something that happened to me because I wasn't sure of what was happening at the time. I was just like doing my thing and just like staying there. And suddenly it shaped up the opportunity to become my job. Like I started to get more jobs, and then I got an internship as an animator, and in a small studio here. I say small because at the time I was there were like 13 people. Yeah. But now it's not small anymore because we have a show, an upcoming show about superhero drag queens on Netflix. Okay. And it's going to be great. Now it's a bigger studio, but when I was there, when I was an intern there, it was a small studio. And because of that, I had a lot of attention from my bosses at the time. So I learned a lot, and college started to become something that didn't make sense. Like graphic design and product design didn't make sense for me anymore. I felt like I was funneling my interests to the point in which I decided that I didn't even want to be an animator. I just wanted to draw, and I wanted to draw for myself if that was possible. And I really wanted clients to come to me with my own references. I mean, I think it was a pretty, I was really privileged to be able to just come to my bosses at the work and say, I really love it here. I really love you guys. It's amazing working on a studio. But I got to the point of my career that I can just go work home. I can drop out of college. Like, it doesn't make sense anymore to keep fulfilling expectations that are not mine. It doesn't make sense anymore to try to fit into a mold that doesn't fit at all. Well, there's like a perfectly good mold that fits what I want to do, and it seems possible. So I should probably chase that. And that's where I am right now, like just freelancing, and it's great. It's great so far.
So what are you doing now, or what do you live from mainly, if you can, explain to people, when they are just wondering like, okay, I want to do freelance, but okay, well, I can do maybe commissions, I can have Patreon, or, how do you split your, income streams from which directions?
Oh, that's interesting, and also like super helpful. That's one of the main things I want to hear about, like everyone, my friends, like, how do you do it? So what motivated me the most to drop out of college and out of my internship was that a friend who started out as a client because I had like this massive job last year with Faber-Castell. It's more famous in Europe, right? Because in the United States they're big, but not so big in Europe. Like,
they're everywhere knows. Here, yeah. Like where we go buy a pencil, it's like, Faber-Castell is just lying everywhere.
Yeah, and they did like what I think back then still is like a brilliant marketing decision, and of inviting artists from Brazil to their factory in São Paulo. And I did go to that. It's like they wanted to talk to us about how did we feel about their products and show stuff. And it was super fun because there were around 10 artists there. And then they did a bigger project that was to send artists from around the world to Germany to know their factory in Germany, but also like see the castle, because they have an actual castle. And that's where I met Guy, who used to work for Faber-Castell, but now is my agent, and it's Piccolo's agent too. Cool. So when we were like messing around with him, like just on December, like 2017 December at the Comic-Con in Brazil, we were like, oh, you're so good at this, like helping us out. You should probably be an agent. It would be so nice. He was like, no, of course not. Like, and eventually he changed his mind. And when he did, I felt a bit safer to have someone who, because I mean, Piccolo he's also like a college dropout, just like me, and we're around the same age. We're like 24. So I think it's an age in which you're not sure what you're doing at all. So taking big decisions about your life sound a lot better when you have like a very respected professional like you with you, like just on the sidelines helping you out and all that kind of stuff. So when he mentioned to me that he wanted to be an agent, I was like, oh, that's all I need. That's all. You are going to be my parachute for some of the stuff. Like, he's an emotional parachute too. I mean, we do talk a lot about pricing and where I should go with my career, like, because I'm both an artist and an influencer, despite not liking the term all that much. But it is true that sometimes it's something that even makes it possible for me to get the jobs I get, being an influencer also. And so what I get, most of my income is from like clients, companies that want to have like a book done, or editorial jobs also. I do get some stuff from like influencer, how do I say it?
Sponsorships?
Yeah, that's it. Sponsorships, like a lot of different kinds of sponsorships, also sponsorships in which I don't have to talk about the products, but I probably will, because I mean those companies are being so good to me. Like Faber-Castell does that. They give us some gigs, and for example, I did a workshop for children about drawing, about basic drawing stuff. So that was a gig that I got with them, and it's recurring. Like they usually call for stuff, they send products, so they don't pay me all the time to be to talk about the brand, but they did fly me to Germany, they did fly me to Sao Paulo, they do send a lot of their products, and they're always like this brand that's trusting you to do a good job, like with the investment they do on you, which is super nice. But there's also brands that just have their marketing campaigns based on influencers. So they send you like I don't know, personalizable. No, that's not a word. That
like
kind of
just product.
Yeah, but products you can draw on them, on which the goal is that people personalize them.
Yeah. But they
That's
don't.
also
They
like,
don't pay you for promoting. Only
no,
product?
they do.
Yeah, okay,
No, they
good,
do.
good. I got worried that you just do it only
asking.
for product. So for anyone listening, that's definitely not okay to promote brands and products just for getting like few, I don't know, pencils.
Thanks for pointing that out, actually, because it's something that I would do last year, but now that I know better, I won't. And it's something that hurts us like a lot as professionals, because you gotta get paid for work. Like there's no way around it. You gotta get paid for work. But no, those are companies that they pay for the posts, they pay for my stories, and they know that they are dealing with a professional, because I think when companies do that, they're sending you things and hoping you, they do not respect you as a professional. They just, I don't know, they think of you as something other than a professional, because not any professional transaction would be like this. But that's also a point of interest, because when you talk about your lifestyle and you share that amount of detail about your life on Instagram, I think you stop being just something that gives people art. You give people also a perspective. You give them a story. Your work becomes the narrative. Like you have these little stories inside each of your drawings, but when people have been following you for a while, or when people start to try to get to know you through internet, which is, they don't actually get to know you because it's online. So, but anyway, you still make a narrative. You're still kind of a brand, which is something that I think it's hard to understand when you're 24, that you are your product, and to market yourself properly, especially when the subject you're most interested in, it's art, not like marketing and publicity and of course money. We're all interested in money, but that doesn't mean we're good at doing the financial part of it. So I think mostly I went too far from the question, but mostly I try to get as many clients as I can in different areas, because I'm still figuring out what I like. This year I made a board game. I'm making a project with children's books. I made covers for books, and I did some editorial jobs, and those are all like kind of different areas inside illustration. So I'm just trying to figure out what do I like, but that's like the major place where I get actual money. I do fare nicely at conventions too. And I did open commissions a while ago and an online store, but those for me are more like the kind of money that I get to be able to pay for conventions, to be able to do some other things. Those are not for like, I wouldn't count on those for surviving, because they're quite you don't always know someone is going to commission you. You don't get to like understand how the underlying story is going to work. Like if you did this only one time or two, like I think to have a steady income, Patreon is nicer, but I'm not able to do this right now because I think it takes a lot of
It's a
effort.
lot
Like
of work, yeah, yeah,
if
there.
people are paying for your work like monthly or on a regular basis, like you have to commit to this. You have to count your hours to this. And especially on these first months as a freelancer, I am still trying to understand when I can say no, and I'm still trying to understand my rhythm. Like this has been the toughest part of being a freelance yet, is that it's not so much about the money, it's not so much about the jobs, it's about being alone with myself for most of the week and not freaking out.
Yeah,
That's
if you are
been
a
a hard
social
one.
person, it's hard.
No, I'm not that social. Really not. It's just that if you're, I think it takes some time for you to understand when it's okay to start working, when it's okay to stop. It's just a lot of control over your life after, I mean, I don't know, I think that amount of control over your work hours, not having a boss, not having weekends sometimes, that's something that's prone to happen, even if we know it shouldn't, like even not stretching or all those things that we do as daughters that we shouldn't, but we do because we don't know any better yet. All those things started to happen at the same time. As soon as I became a freelancer, I started to realize I would work past time because I wanted to get it done perfectly, because I wanted everything I did to look absolutely beautiful and people who paid me to feel like their money was worth it. But the thing is, their money would be worth it if I had spent the time I set before, like for a hour's rate. But I think that comes with maturity and time being a professional, because I still feel kind of lost. I still feel a bit like, I was talking about that like a while ago too. I still, every time I got like a big project, I feel like a child. Like I'm like, why are they giving this on my like on my tiny childish hands? I'm not an adult yet. I can't do this. And it's so sad how I'm past this. I'm like, I still think of myself as 19, like 20. I'm a teenager, but I'm not at all. And so whenever I get like a huge amount of responsibility, I'm back to the imposter syndrome place. And it's so nice to have an agent, because my agent is also my friend. So he usually just plucks me out like, no, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you look like Linda Evangelista. Like he does all these things. Like you have to uh, get your skin thicker. And it's something that you can only do with time. It's not listening to, I listen to all of my friends when they become freelance artists saying that I would feel like this and I would feel like that. And I was like, nah, you don't know me. Of course I won't. And I did. Like for all of the things they said, I experienced it, like missing working on a studio because of just the noise of other people like on the same environment. And it's such a simple thing, but working alone is something that if you're not wired up to do this, we'll have to. Whoops! I got into like a flux of conscience, and I was like, no, my flux of conscience in Portuguese, no. But if you're not used to it, you will have to do some work on that area, on just the fact that you're working alone, just the fact that now it's all in your hands. And it's funny because in a way it's all I ever wanted. In another way, I'm not sure I was ready to get all I ever wanted yet. So I'm like, oh my god, this is like a dream come true, but am I am I having the right tools to like keep this dream going and not like hurt myself with working overtime, not hurt myself with just having the wrong chair, like not having my hand, not remembering to stretch. So this is something that worries me. I'm like, I'm so privileged. I got there so early. I have so many things to be grateful for, but still I am a flawed human being. So I'm going to find things to complain. I'm going to find dead ends in which there shouldn't be. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm on a very crazy moment of my life. I'm always like, what is this really happening to me? So,
yeah, this is like listening to myself. So I'm like, yeah. So
we all want to be relatable, and it's good that this is relatable because like I said, like on the beginning, we are so isolated that we are all suffering from the same thing, and we don't know.
Exactly. So it's like,
oh no, that's just me.
And it's like, what is happening? And then because the life in the studio or in a big company is so different, so it's always really good to like hear how you schedule your time, or how do you arrange the projects, or like what is good client work, because the commissions are kind of not super, how do you say, often, right? So you cannot plan on it, like you said, and so the other clients work with the agent works better. And so do you have like meetings with your agent, and then he can tell you like, okay, this is coming up, or maybe this is coming up, and then you can decide what is better at the time, or you do like a schedule for a half a year, or how do you guys do it?
Oh, so we've only been working together for I think the past 3 months.
Mm-hmm. So it's new.
And it's pretty new. And so what we're doing is that usually I get most of the clients. What's the word for it? But most of the emails come to me. I'm the one who read them. I read them first usually, and then I send to him, and he usually takes his time thinking about it, and then he calls me, which is something that's so nice. I mean, it's super tiny and silly, but having someone I call almost every day about work, it's really nice. being a freelance, and I don't feel so alone, because usually we get this like mid-afternoon call in which we talk like, oh, you've seen this client that wants this, what do you think about it? And I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. It could be nice for a portfolio, or did you see the references they sent? Like, they know my work, they want it to be just like that. And the best part, not the best part, because there are a lot of good parts, but the best part is like, oh, how much do you wanna
like charge for?
Yes, how much do you want to charge? And I'm like, I have no clue. How much do you think I should charge? And then he tells me, and it's so good. It's amazing, not having the pressure. And usually, I mean, we're getting better at this, but usually he tells me the price, and I'm like, no, that's too high. No one would pay for that. And yes, they would. If they want you, they will. And I'm like, can we charge like a little bit less? And then sometimes he indulges me, and we charge a little bit less, but we're getting to the point in which he says the price, and I'm like, yeah, I'm aligned with this. It means it makes total sense, because since he was with Faber-Castell, he used to work with artists a lot, so he was very interested in knowing how much was the proper money to charge, especially on those areas that I said are the most interesting, like publicity and ads and that kind of stuff, because they have the big money. So usually you have to know when you're going to make your, it's not your budget, it's budget is okay.
Yeah, pricing. Yeah, because like budgeting for like expenses, and then your pricing, so you can like plan it and live from it, and how many hours do you spend on the work, so you can kind of calculate.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. When you're going to make your pricing, you usually take in consideration like the size of the company, and if you've been on the market like he has, he already kind of knows the big companies. So that helps so much because that's knowledge that's from a lifetime. Even if I did devote myself to learning, having someone who knows it, who spent his time, who spent his career like building up to the point in which he knew all those things. It alleviates me from having to spend time outside of my work, like time I could use for personal stuff when I'm all over with work stuff. I can just unwind and have that 1 hour that I wouldn't have because I would be too worried about learning about certain things that it's not that I don't think I should learn. I just think that if there's someone who can do it with excellence, that would be like better for everyone.
Yeah, like with experience and everything. And but when you mentioned that they contact you right away, so when do they find you, or is it through Instagram, or where is the most client work coming from? And as you mentioned, like so they tell you right away, oh, we would like to have the I don't know, book cover, and we like this illustration of yours as a reference.
So I've been very lucky with the reference thing because it's been happening more and more that people already know exactly what I do, and that's why they're calling me. So usually when I get those kind of emails and they send me stuff that I did that's personal, that's the kind of thing that I would do like for fun, I know that I can't do wrong because that's already like the kind of mindset I have. And I've been doing this not for too long, but I've been doing a lot because I used to when I was in college, and I used to post like every day. Sometimes I did like have one day off or something, but for a year and a half it was every day. So I made this into something that I could do with my eyes closed. Not exactly with my eyes closed, no, that makes no sense. But
you make the process like quick
the
and
process, yeah, it's something so natural to me. Like just sit down, sketch 3 thumbnails, and think about it. And usually, which I think it's also super nice, usually people come to me with subjects, with the whole aesthetics of what they want has to do with my aesthetics. They're like, oh, we want some flowers, and like, yeah, I'm the girl for it. We want a little girl like doing this. I'm like, yes. So they're points of interest. So it ends up being so much easier. And they mostly contact me from Instagram because it's my biggest social media at the moment. But I've been seeing some people who came from Twitter too, which has started to get on with this year, and it seems to have a more mature audience. And in the sense that it's not exactly more mature, but people on Instagram, I get the feeling that there are a lot of people who are just like casual admirers that would never like actually buy your stuff. They just want to see because it's pretty. And on Twitter, that percentage is higher of people who actually like feel super passionate about what you do and want to support you somehow. People are older too, I think. So Instagram for now, but I think Twitter has a lot of potential. Also, people send me references from my Behance. But I think that's because it's one of the most portfolio-like sites too. But mostly Instagram.
Yeah. And how else do you do networking to find new clients? As you mentioned, conventions, or is it also then from the agent as well, as you said, that he send you jobs, or it's mostly from the social media now?
Oh, so before I went to my first convention, it was only internet, and I didn't even like send emails to clients. Like here, it would say, is prospecting a word in English?
Prospecting?
Or am I just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Is the word?
sure. Well, I'm not
No,
a native English speaker, so I'm like,
good. That's good. That's good. Um, so in Portuguese, we have that word that means sending emails to companies you like to work for, and just like kind of sensing the waters around, and like,
Yeah.
I like to do this because of that, and that's like, we call it prospecção
Okay.
in Brazilian Portuguese. So it's a verb that it's like networking with companies, but through email, like taking the initiative.
Yeah.
I've never done that. Like,
Okay.
never. I mean, I wanted to, but I was always like, no, I need a better portfolio. I need a website. I need this. I need that. And then life happened, and as it turns out, the other kinds of networking I did were enough, which is something super nice. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with reaching out to the companies. It's something that I want to do with several companies, and it's something that when I was to sign my contract with Guy for the agent thing, he came to Rio. He's from São Paulo. He came to Rio, and we spent a day talking about this. How I wanted to direct my brand, if I was going to do the influencer lifestyle thing, which were the things that appealed to me the most. For example, I'm a heavy tea drinker. I really love tea. And I was like, I really want to reach out to Lipton and Twinings, and I really want to tell them that I'm interested in doing something, some pattern for them or something like this, which is something that maybe a year ago I'd be like, no. They wouldn't ever want. That's a lot of gal I have to like just go and say I want to, but it's not. It's not. I mean, even if people just like look at your email and it's like, they're not gonna remember you, so it's okay. You gotta know every time you don't ask. So I had this with him, and we didn't exactly do it yet, but that was something that I really wanted to do, and it's a form of networking. But at conventions, it's actually, which is that's a good topic, because that's how I met Guy for the first time at my first convention. He went to my booth, and we talked, and he was like, "Oh my God, she's so nice." I think for her work, not because I was nice, but for my work, and
you
because
are not nice at all.
I am though, but not solely because I was nice, but it was something that fundamented his choice, and that's why he chose me to go on that trip and all those things, because he met me at a convention, and when you're at a convention, the barriers are just all down. People get to talk to you like real time, and then just ask things and just get a feel of who you are, because as we've been noticing more and more and more, the person can never, ever, ever be separated for their art. Like, it ends up, the way people do their art is related to who they are intrinsically. So that's something that is hard to show on the internet without being it's not fake, but you don't know people
kind
solely from the internet. Yeah, and getting to know me outside of my work, like as a person, is something that made us have such a strong work connection. And that's something that it's hard to get, because you don't actually, like all the brands you love, you don't meet their CEOs like around and just like on a boardwalk in Copacabana. You don't just meet them and like, let's sit down and have a coconut water and talk about me.
That would be fun, though.
That would be fun, though.
We should do a convention like that.
Of course. And I went to this one, the Brazilian Comic Con, 2 times. And something super interesting happened this year. And did you see Coco, the Pixar movie?
Yeah.
So good, isn't it? So I went to see Coco on the theaters, and when I left, I was crying so hard, like my face was all puffy, and I had this big realization that I had to go to Mexico. I just had to. I had to find a way to go to Mexico. So I sent an email to the La Mole Comic Con, to the people who did the picking of tables and etc. Just asking like, oh, I really want to go to Mexico. Like it was literally after I left the theaters. I went to the bathroom and I was like, I talked to my friend who was the bathroom with me. You went like just to clean our faces from all the ugly crying. And I was like, just, can you wait a second? I'm going to sit down here. I'm going to send an email just so I can remember that I really need to send this email. And they said I could go, and they saved me a booth there. And I went to their Comic-Con, and it was really interesting to be in a Comic-Con in another country. Because not in the client sense yet, I haven't felt it yet, but I feel like by being on Mexico, my Mexican audience grew like in a way that I could never do it if I hadn't been there like personally. And this was a big eye opener for me, because of course I thought, oh, it's nice to like tour around as an artist, but the internet it's something that I could do that from the internet, and apparently yes you can, but it's so much more effective if you do get to talk to people. And in October, I'm going to the New York City Comic-Con, and I'm absolutely excited because my audience in the United States is considerable. Like it's like 1% after my Brazilian audience. And some of the clients I really want to work with are based there. So it's also something that you can do your networking based on. It's like this big convoluted plan in which you get an audience on the place you want the companies to hire you, and then you have better reasons for them too. And it's interesting. This part of how to dwell
to
with
do the networking, right? And how do you before we finish, I would like to hear some about your like future projects. What would be your dream scenario in those 5 to 10 years I usually ask about, and also what would you like to be remembered for in 100 years? So if you think about the future.
Eva, that's so many difficult questions together. Oh, okay. So my future projects, actually, I'm going to start a crowdfunding campaign next month on, I think it's going to be on Indiegogo, because it's an amazing platform. And it's going to be for an art book, because as I said, for the last years, I used to produce a lot of content, like all the time. I was just putting things up, and I think I want to make peace with some of those older illustrations. So I want to make a product for them, so I can never look at them again. No, it's not that. So I know that this product has been used for something, like all those fan arts, all those drawings I did back then, to compare them with things I do now, and show people like actually have a piece of solid physical evidence of the growth I had on those past years. That's going to be amazing if it does actually get funded, which I really hope it does. But with that's one of my biggest projects right now. And I really want to keep doing different things. Like if I want to be remembered by something, is that I can do something interesting and creative, and I can put my footprint on various different kinds of stuff. Like this board game I did, I hadn't ever thought I would do a board game, and it was so fun because it was slightly Inca inspired, and my family is Peruvian, so it was really nice. It was really, really nice. And that's the kind of thing I want, like to have a project that I'm like, I don't know how to do this, but I'll find out, and then we're going to get a nice product, and I'm going to learn through this. And I think that's mostly what I want to do. I want to go to more conventions. I want to meet more people around the world because we, as I said, we in Brazil are very close because I don't know if we're as prolific as some other countries with the jobs and stuff. And so people usually have to flock together to survive, which is awesome in a sense because you make a lot of friends, and at conventions it just, of course, it's gruesome the amount of time you have to
So
spend on
many
a
people.
table and so many people, but it's also so fun because you're selling something to someone who loves what you do, and they're giving you money for this, and they're being kind, and you look to your side and there's someone you love, there's a friend also doing this, and you get to see that. This is so special, like having artist friends sharing experiences like this. And did I answer everything?
Yeah, we talk about those future
I
projects,
got
so yeah. Definitely, because that would be awesome to see more of your art books, and maybe you can do like tutorials and course or something like that as well. And yeah, so that would be super awesome to see. And before we say goodbye, maybe you can share last piece of advice, and then we will slowly finish.
Of course. So I think what I've been struggling with, which is not something that I can exactly help other people, but I can say how I am trying to do this is, I hate the idea of work having to be fun all the time. Because we work with our passion, so it gets harder when you blur lines, but most of the people do because it is something that we love. So what I'm trying to understand is the balance, the most, like how to get this homeostasis of how much should I be being responsible and how much should I enjoy this. But the thing is, if you can, like if you are lucky, like I am, to be able to do this, I think you should. The fact that you're working with things that you believe in, with companies that have a moral ground to them, like if you're working with projects that kind of speak your truth, it's a lot easier to understand the difference. It's a lot easier to see when you're being responsible because you want to do good work for a company that you believe in, and that you can also have fun because you're talking about something that relates, that resonates with you. So I don't know, mostly I get a lot of DMs and internet, the kind of questions you get on the internet about how to grow your audience, how to become a professional, which brushes do I use, and all those kinds of things. And I think it's easier for me. It has been easy to deal with social media because I am so worried about speaking my truth all the time. Like, to be on a kind of a branding situation in which the brand I became is literally the best of me, like me at my best. So having this as an example, having my internet persona as not something that I want to be all the time, because to be honest, she is flawless. I only upload good pictures for her. Like I only put nice things. I only answer stuff when I have time to think about it. Like she's like an unattainable goal, like my internet persona, but it makes me want to keep up with being the example I'm trying to set. So this was a weird advice because it started away and ended up completely different. But anyway, I think having an image of who you want to be that's not idolized, that's actually you, but like slightly more responsible, slightly less of a procrastinator, it's something that it's doing me a whole lot of good. Like I want to be kind of like that, and that's also me. So no imposter syndrome. So I think that's
So be
probably
yourself and be still
my best
inspired
advice.
by the goal, right? Yeah. So definitely good, because then we also should be, yeah, keeping kind of the, how do you say, the realism in the whole lifestyle. So Definitely a
Truth in
good tip.
television. Yeah.
So yeah, and thank you so much again for being here. It was super inspirational.
Thanks for having me.
So thank you again, and thanks everyone who was listening or watching, and see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe because I post new videos every week. I will be also super happy if you let me know your thoughts in comments and give the video a thumbs up. You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a couple of free artist resources ready for you. So if you want to listen to the interviews on the go too, make sure to check out the podcast at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Continue to inspire each other, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!